learning spaces. So basically I thought about where I learned whenever I was a student, and it was in places that wasn't necessarily the classroom. There were group meeting rooms in the library, which I used quite a lot to, they're by the reserve reading rooms. Those can be scheduled. We met in cafes and downtown and restaurants and that sort of thing. You'll always see people in Starbucks. You'll always see people in Irving's who have their laptops open and they're learning. The hub, I mean, I've taken some pictures of the hub, and you'll see students with all over the place meeting for student clubs and that sort of thing. They're meeting with their study groups. They're meeting for to organize thon, that sort of thing. Residence halls have study areas. There are also the commons buildings, which are attached to each of them, where you can get, again, food, wireless internet access, and there are some kind of essential key components to make them popular. But also classroom hallways. On the way out of a building, you'll just meet and talk with your team, divide up tasks, and then move on from that space. So we were charged with finding examples of learning spaces around the university, and I don't just mean at University Park. The other campuses were under consideration as well, to identify features that make them successful. In other words, watch where the students go and then kind of note what makes those individual sites successful, and then identify needs for additional spaces around campus. So the result, and I'll get to this first, just in case I don't get to the end of my document, we have a reports area on the TLT website, tltitsphsu.edu/about/reports, or if you just go to this website, just click on About, and you'll see the reports there. But it's probably about 14 pages long, includes lots of pictures, but descriptions of what makes sites popular and needs and that sort of thing. So, all right. So here's Willard. Can I get a collective boo from him? Okay, awesome. You might not be able to see this very well in the hallway, but this is a very common vision for Willard. Does anybody spend a lot of time in Willard? Okay, a few people here. You'll often see students just sitting in the hallways because they really don't have any place else to sit, and they have their books open, they have their laptops open, they're trying to check Facebook or whatever between classes. The seating there isn't very comfortable. Students are sticking their legs out, and other students are walking by and stepping over them. It's not very safe. It's it can get really dirty in there, especially in the winter. So, I mean, that's one of the places that we want to perhaps expand to. But you're in Kern today. Can I get a collective yay? Awesome. Okay, so Kern has access to food. You can normally see people, reading newspapers, that sort of thing, getting on the wireless. You are here in the auditorium. But it is a very convenient space, and it is very heavily used by graduate students, especially when the cafe is open. Whenever the cafe isn't open, then it's almost like a no man's land in here. In Pollock Building, they have collaborative learning spaces that are sponsored by ITS, and these typically include like a cubicle type setting with a little bit of privacy here. These are not staged shots at all. I just went in with my point and click camera and took some of these pictures, and you'll see these on the screensavers on ITS lab machines. But this was a group of 5 students who were going over some research and pulling up PDF documents from the library on a big monitor where they could all read through them and discuss them. So that was pretty cool to see. Anne McLaren was showing off her space in the Sparks Learning Center. Is Anne still here? Oh, there you are. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Anne. It's the curse for embarrassing other people. In a lot of these pictures, you'll see members of the Informal Learning Spaces team, just because that's when we were all there taking pictures. So we met in each of these spaces and moved the meetings around campus and examined each one and looked at the unique characteristics. The one thing I really like about this space is that they've set it up to be very student-centered, and the artwork on the walls is actually student artwork. But it's a very comfortable low light setting, and students can meet there either in teams or with their tutors and that sort of thing. This again is the hub, where if you look down the okay.
Still working? Okay. Next up is Emily Rimland, and on deck is Matt Meyer.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily. I work at the library. I'm here to talk to you about RefWorks. Okay, I'll try and use my teacher voice if this goes out. Show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Delicious? Okay, how many of you are familiar with RefWorks? Okay, like maybe half, no RefWorks. It might help for you to think about RefWorks as a similar tool to Delicious. It works in a similar way as It's a similar collection bucket for your citations, your references, like Delicious collects your links. So instead of collecting websites, it collects citations and references for your research. So you can access it anywhere, and it's tied to your Penn State Access account. So that's two great features it has over something like Engine, which is tied to your computer. So let me show you a little bit about. Try switching back to this one. Is this working? Okay. Let me show you a little bit about how it works and what it looks like. I'm going to log in from this site. This is accessible from the LDSC09 tag in Delicious. It's also on the summer camp wiki. You can get to it that way, or from the library's homepage. This is what it looks like. I've got some citations in here. And you can kind of summarize it as having two flows. It's got an input flow and an output flow. The input is you pulling in references or citations from the library's catalog. It works with the library's databases. You can manually input them, and it works from some other sites as well. So once you get some things in here and they're collected, you can use the folders to organize them. So here you can see a couple folders I have. It's similar to the tag feature in Delicious. And once they're in here, you can then output them using a couple different mechanisms. You can have it create a bibliography for you, which dumps it right into Word, and it's perfectly formatted in whatever style you choose from. And you can literally choose from hundreds of styles. So there's the MLA, the Chicago, things you'd expect, but if you use a really specific style, it's probably in here, and if it's not, you can tailor your own style. So you can output them to Word, and then another feature it has is you can share them. And you can do that by means of using the shared space. So I'll show you that. This is what other people have shared on RefWorks at Penn State. I want to show you one in particular. This one called Rhetoric. This was created by communication arts and science students that are studying rhetoric. And there's over 1,000 references they input into this. And so they use it as a knowledge base for other grad students in CAS. And they draw from it and are able to find things that way. Another thing you can do is you can get an RSS feed for this share. And so you can subscribe to it that way and see what other people are adding in a topic that you're interested in. Lastly, I just want to mention that we're doing a small pilot this summer with CAS 100A students. They're using this in class, and we're going to get some feedback and data from them about how they like it for managing their citations. So we should have that data at the end of the summer. We are also teaching classes in RefWorks. Beginning in the fall, you can access them through ITS training. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask any of us at the library. We're happy to get you started. But I encourage you to just go to the site, try it out, input some things, and just give it a test drive and see how you like it, and let us know. Thanks.
She's all excited she got in with time. And that's what you get an applause. So. See which side Matt wants to be on. On deck is Hannah Insko.
Okay, my lightning round is on an application called Voicethread. I was a member of a hot team that just recently published the white paper on Voicethread, worked with Kim Wink, Chris Stubbs, Kathy Holsing, and Dan Berman. Very interesting application. It's part of this new wave of these presentation creation tools that are a hosted web-based application. So what I'll do is, before I get cowbelled, places to learn more. I put 3 basic ones up here. Voicethread.com itself. If you just go there and start to go through it in about 5 minutes, you can learn enough about it to see how it works, open up your own account, and start creating your own voice threads. The white paper itself is obviously on the TLT website. We created the white paper and a voice thread. And another place is my blog, where I've put information about it if you want to hit some other links for some other information. Okay, so it's so easy to use. I'm hoping in the 5 minutes that I have, I'm going to be able to demonstrate how this works. So I'll actually go back to a basic definition. A tool for having conversations around media, that's the definition that comes from Voicethread themselves. I think if you want to put a mindset around it, think of it as a group audio blog, because that's really how it works. You're creating a presentation, and other people can comment on it any way they want, being audio, video, webcam, do it by telephone. So I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. So what I'm doing now is I'm going into, I'm in my Voicethread account right now. Getting a Voicethread account, they don't ask a lot of profile information, so you can have it set up in probably less than a minute. You put an email, password, and you're ready to go. So I'll go into the Voicethread that we created for the hot team.
I'm Matt Meyer, Senior Instructional Designer here at Penn State University. I'm part of a 5-member hot team that has...
So that is, and I'll pause that. This is the meeting we created. It's just like a basic PowerPoint slide. We actually pulled this up from PowerPoint. Later we tweaked it and created made it as a GIF image. You create your profile, and then you can see the comment of each person who's commenting on the media itself. So you saw me introducing it. Here's Dan Berman. He also did a webcam.
Dan Berman. I'm a professor in the Department of Classics and Ancient Mediterranean Studies here at Penn State. I used voice.
So we use webcams. Kathy used audio.
I'm a senior instructional designer here in the College of Public.
And Kim used text. You can use text as well. You can also upload your own audio file if you'd like. If you want to comment by phone, put in your phone number, and it calls you, and you can make your comment, and you can hear it. In fact, I think that's exactly what Mr. Stubbs did over here.
My name is Chris Stubbs. I'm an instructional technologist for Education Technology Services.
So there's a number of ways to make these comments. Making a comment is very easy. In fact, I'll make one now. Get to a screen, there's only one comment. It was from Dan Berman himself. So I will do a webcam. And of course, it's not working right now. So I'll just save that.
And of course, it's not working right now.
So it takes a number of things that are kind of previously complicated, makes them very easy in this interface. That's the strength of it. So hopefully I can get over to, I'll cancel this, and now I'll show you how easy to create one. This is the interface. You want to create your own presentation. Go pick an image. Pulls it in, albeit slowly. As you can see from the interface, you can pull things in from Flickr or Facebook accounts, and I've done that, and it's very smooth. And show you what it's like to take it from a PowerPoint. And it's called pulling 2 sample slides. So now I can go, I'll skip saving it. Okay, and we have your PowerPoint slide. It always works.
No, just open. So next up is Hannah, and Brett, you are officially on deck. No.
Okay, I'm going to talk. Oh, sorry. I'm going to talk a little bit about the pre-conference workshop that Digital Commons did on digital literacy. We used a program called Kaltura, which was talked about a little bit earlier. So I'm not going to go into how to actually use the program per se, but how we used it in the workshop. We had 36 attendees for this workshop, which is one of the most highly attended workshops we've taught. We've done these digital storytelling workshops in the past, where we wanted to combine different pieces of software that we support at Digital Commons and show people how to create stories. This one, 36 attendees, we had 12 computers, took 4 hours, and we had an amazing amount of fun and stories that were told. All right, some of the questions we wanted to tackle. How do you find good information? How do you know what you can use, and how do you share what you've learned? We worked with libraries on this workshop. We used the library resources to find the images and the audio that we used. So one of the library resources that we used, Lisa Cahoy, walked the group through how to search for AP images through the library, ones that we're able to use that are licensed for people who go to Penn State who work here. We also used Flickr for some of those who wanted to use that resource. And then we got into Kaltura a little bit. Once you went through and you chose all the photos that you wanted to use, we went into the Digital Commons where we have a built-in module to access Kaltura, and we're able to upload the images that we saved onto our desktop. And this is what the interface looked like, and Cole went over this a little bit earlier. Really, really easy to use. Once your images are up there, you can start creating your movie right in Kaltura, making titles, transitions, and then you can also record your voice right in there, which is what a lot of people did. I'm running through these so that we can actually watch one. And then we started a page on Digital Commons where we have a gallery of different videos that have been created using this program, and we're going to watch one of them. And I hope they don't mind. I'm going to skip through a little bit of the first because the title is up there for a while.
In 1952, two historic events occurred. The border between East and West Germany was closed in May, paving the way for the Berlin Wall, and in Baltimore, Maryland, a star was born. Two complicated histories were intertwined in ways both mysterious and thrilling, culminating in an incendiary world event. Nearly a decade later, on July 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy gave a speech just days before the border between East and West Berlin was closed. He stressed the need for NATO countries to hold on to West Berlin and says any Soviet attack on Berlin would be equivalent to an attack on NATO. Those who threaten to unleash the forces of war on a dispute over West Berlin should recall the words of the ancient philosopher, "A man who causes fear cannot be free from fear." On August 13, 1961, the Berlin border between East and West Berlin was closed. A day later, the Brandenburg Gate closed as well. The zonal boundary was sealed by East German troops with barriers of barbed wire and light fencing that eventually became a complex series of walls, fortified fences, gun positions, and watchtowers heavily guarded and patrolled. In the end, the Berlin Wall was 96 miles long and an average height of 11.8 feet. There were some 5,000 successful escapes into West Berlin. On June 26, 1963, President John F. Kennedy visits Berlin and declares, "Ich bin ein Berliner." Coming from Central European extraction and being fluent in German, it isn't such a stretch that I emphasize with this stance. Ich bin der Hoff, David Hasselhoff. At the time, I had not achieved Kennedy-like fame. I was only a fledgling star just embarking on my singing, songwriting, and acting career, not expecting that
I'm only going to pause it because I want you guys to go and watch these on our website, which is digitalcommons.psu.edu/remix gallery. But I wanted to stress that all of the information that we got was through library resources. We were able to inspire them to give the videos a voice. We wanted them to tell a story, research all of the information they needed to put the story together, and do everything online. So it alleviates that need to be in front of a digital commons computer in order to get these videos done. So I thought that was really important, and I want to encourage everybody to go check out the videos. And that's it.
Next up is Brett Bixler, and Chris Millay is officially on deck.
Okay, everyone. I just want to do a quick overview of the EGC and where we are today. So I'll start out, and I'll just talk a little bit about what is the EGC. And I'm not going to read all that stuff to you. It's all up on the website. But really what we're trying to do is we are trying to form a community of users between faculty, staff, and students. So, and I think that's kind of unique because we started with that from the very beginning. We really want that mix involved in there. So who's involved right now? Well, right now we have the EGC team, which is myself, Bart Purcell, Chris, you know, Jason Wolf. He's our programmer. Just an amazing programmer. And we also have an intern from IST this summer that will probably carry through in the fall at a lesser capacity, Jason Cavity. So we also have some engagement folks we're working with right now. We started some engagement projects this year. We're working with Mary Shoemaker and Bim Angst, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. And we also have a large number of affiliates that's growing every day. Peter Aduwu, who you've already heard of, he did EcoRacer. Steve Thorne is just amazing. If you ever get a chance to hear Steve, sometimes I actually understand what he's saying. So where are we? Well, we're in a couple of places. First of all, physically we're down in ETS, of course, but we have a couple of sites. Gaming.psu.edu is a place where we have a blog and a community set up and so on. We're also on Facebook. If you go and do a search on Facebook for Educational Gaming Commons, we actually have about 120 folks that are in that group, and that group is growing. And we plan on leveraging the strength of that type of community for doing some brainstorming activities and maybe helping us out with some prototypes of some future games that we build. We also have a lab. So let's talk about the lab a little bit here. And that's a little blurry, I know you can see, but the lab's in Findlay 6A, which is in East Halls. It will have its official opening fall semester, but we're going to do a soft rollout here in a couple of weeks. It is almost finished, and it's really awesome. You come in, and you can see at the bottom here, there'll be tables there, and there'll be 8 computers on there. Those computers will be preloaded with a number of games that faculty have asked for. So, you know, it's just like a standard lab. Then in the back part of the room, we have 3 consoles. We'll have a Wii, a PlayStation, and an Xbox. And that area, we just have a bunch of beanbag chairs in there. And there are a couple of folks that we went down last night. We just threw the beanbags out, and we all sat around in a circle. It was really cool. Other things that are in there, there's an overhead projector, there's a whiteboard, there's a screen. But there's 5 LCDs in there, and those LCDs are all hooked together through a video switching system. So you can output from any computer, any monitor, or any console to any or all of the LCDs and or the overhead projector. I mean, it's not just video, it's sound. So when you get in there and you pump that stuff all around, it's really amazing. And I can imagine this lab will be interesting for not only gaming research, but also other types of media possibly. So let's take a look at some of the games that we have, that we've already developed. You've probably already heard of EcoRacer. It's a game that we developed with Peter Aduwu to demonstrate not just it's not just a racing game, but it's really about different types of energy use and how to get the most bang for your buck out of using different types of energy with the least amount of environmental impact. We also have one that maybe some of you don't know about. This is kind of just a straight old drill and practice game, but it's kind of cool. It's a standard old hangman, and the thing that's nice is you can go in, there's an interface set up for faculty. They can specify the class that it's for, they can put their own stuff into it, and then the kids can come in, students can come in and use it, kind of, well, just for drill and practice. So we also have our version of Jeopardy, which we called Peril, to avoid any kind of issues. Same type of idea. You come in there, you set up a class, you set up your questions, you send the kids to the website, and away it goes, and it keeps track of everything through PHP and a back-end database, so kids can get on the leaderboards and see what they're doing and so on. We also have, it's not just about gaming for the Educational Gaming Commons, it's also about simulations and virtual worlds. So we actually have a growing number of islands in Second Life, which seems to be our mainstay right now. The EGC is responsible for 3 of them, Penn State Isle, Isle 2, and Isle 3. Berks also has an island, IST has 2, and World Campus has 2. So we've clustered them all together, and the neat thing about virtual islands is you can move them. So we clustered them all together, and there's all sorts of things going on in there all the time. It's just amazing. Every time I go in there, I'm just amazed by what some of the faculty are doing in there. I mentioned a little bit about the engagement projects. I did not. No.
Next up is Chris Millay, and Stevie, you are on deck.
All right, I'm going to talk to you guys about geoblogging a little bit, and hopefully give you some information about how to start a geoblog for yourself at Penn State, and talk a little bit about why you would want to do it. So essentially what a geoblog is blogging with some information, some geographical information attached to it. So essentially posting within your blog and attaching maybe where you are at any particular moment. To give you a sense of how you might want to geoblog yourself, the first example is actually something that's happening at Penn State starting in the fall, which is a study abroad geoblog. And I've been working with the study abroad program here at Penn State to actually require students that are studying abroad, that are receiving a scholarship from the university, to actually have to geoblog. So students that are blogging all across the world are actually using this technology to sort of plot their blogs onto a map, so that other students that are interested in study abroad can actually surf all the blogs that these students are producing through a map interface. So that's just one example of a geoblog that's going to be happening probably in the fall or the spring. Some other examples, probably the easiest one to get your head wrapped around is a travel blog. So if I'm going on vacation, I want to kind of make some observations or reflections about where I've been traveling, so posting and then plotting those posts onto a map. A historical narrative like we did at the digital storytelling workshop, but maybe through a blog and actually telling a piece of history, but using blogs and a map interface. Another good one is field research. So maybe if you're doing some geography research and you're traveling around Pennsylvania, and then creating posts on various rock formations and things that you're learning about. So I'm going to show you exactly what all this looks like. This is a travel blog. I was just on vacation a couple of weeks ago, and this is my Penn State blog. Looks very similar to a regular Penn State blog, but you notice a little map widget up in the upper right corner. And what that map does, if you click on it, it pops up in a bigger map that shows all my blog posts as I'm going along on this trip. And then as you click on each of those little pins right there, we actually get us a snippet from my blog. And then you can click into the entry. You can see the entry. That's actually my entry when I proposed to April. Yes. Yeah. We're geeks. Yeah. Okay, so this is basically what it looks like. And the important thing that if we want students to do this, it obviously needs to be, we talked about the technology being really easy. So when I post my post here, there's a little geo thing. So right when I'm adding my tags, I can just add location. And it's a real simple location format. Like if you were doing a search on Google Maps, you could just search for restaurants in Ohio and it would pop something up. So students would be able to enter these sort of simple addresses into their posts and real quickly geotag them. So really, really easy to do. This is something that you guys can do. Wanted to share with you some links. If you want to learn how to do this yourself, that very first link, tinyurl.com/psugeoblog, go there. I wrote a whole tutorial up on how to do it. One really neat thing is that this uses the Penn State blog system, and I hope this is a really good example of how you can extend the Penn State blog system to really do really neat things like this. If I have a second, I can show you what the education abroad geoblog is going to start to look like. So this is where all students are basically across the world right now blogging, and each one of these little guys represents a student that's in that particular country, and you can click in and then see what that student's posting about. And yeah, and this is the one that I created. And this is what this is using GeoRSS. So I basically added a little bit of information to the RSS feed for my blog that has this location information that I'm adding. And then something like Google Maps or Yahoo Maps can actually take that information and say, oh, that's where this post goes. And then you have this kind of real nice interactive map. So instead of having to navigate through my posts with the blogging interface, I can actually do it through a map and kind of add an extra level of information. So some of the reasons why you might want to do a geoblog: provides visual and geographic navigation of the content. So instead of kind of just chronologically viewing your content, you can actually use the map in a more of a visual interface. It puts a little bit of geographical context, so it's sort of extra level of meaning. So in addition to the kind of content that's in the post, there's that informational meaning. So you can make connections between where somebody's posting as opposed to just actually the content that's in the body of the post. And that's it.
Chris, can I get rid of this? Okay.
Stevie Rocco is up and Cole is on deck. He's finishing typing right now.
Who is?
Cole, doing his presentation.
Okay, I'm here to talk to you about the Rubric Hit, and I'm going to show you a finished version of it, which is accessible on the Penn State online site, which is called Web Learning at Penn State. You'll never forget the URL. If you say "We Be Learnin'," put the G on it, and you're good. Basically, the Rubric Hit was a project that was developed at the grassroots level. There was no funding for this. There was no manager of this. It was just a bunch of us that got together and decided to put something together based on Kyle Peck's work on rubrics. We saw the tool that he was using, and we were learning Flex at the time, and we said, oh, well, I think we can do something really cool with this. So we got together, and a bunch of us just informally developed this rubric tool. And right now, it's sitting on this website, and it is just here to help faculty members self-assess as to whether or not they're ready to do online teaching. They, I can't type and talk at the same time, clearly. It's work Carol McQuiggan did with a group for Penn State Online through Coordinating Council. They created the rubric. All we did was create the technology to make this work. So you put your first name in, your last name in, and your email in, and you can use any email. It doesn't have to be a PSU domain. And you come up with this Flash interface where you can click in the areas. The scroll bar works on your mouse so that if you're one of those people that scrolls down, it keeps track of how many questions you've answered. I'm just sort of answering randomly. You can go in and take a look at the rubric itself. It's pretty good, I think. But basically, it helps faculty members figure out whether or not they're ready to teach online. When you're done, you click Finished, and it gives you your results. Now, the nice thing about this is you get your results and your feedback, and you can sort by score. This is your major score at the end, and it gives you some general feedback. There are also some links in here As of right now, those links don't look like they go anywhere, but they actually do. It's a matter of the formatting. So if I click on this Wikipedia, it will actually take me there, but it doesn't. It's not underlined like a regular link would be. The whole point for this rubric kit was to help Carol to do a presentation at Sloan, but it ended up being so useful so that we ended up putting it on the site. We are also taking a look at uses for this for other things. What I'd like to eventually do is see if we can, from the grassroots level, create a kind of a rubric tool where faculty members and others could create rubrics, share them, and have a feedback bank so that they could, you know how you put the same comment on each piece of paper, you know, you would have a feedback bank so that you could like use your comments over again if you needed to. Right now it works to for this particular type of rubric or even a checklist rubric, and it will email the feedback. So one of the professors that I was talking to has actually asked us to modify it so it emails the feedback to her, and then she'll compile it for the students. So we're continuing work on this, and if there's anybody interested in helping out with it, just talk to me afterward.
He's cheating with his own timer up here.
Thanks, Aaron. This timer doesn't start until this shit shows up, just so you know that. So is this supposed to just come on, or? I did. I pushed number 2. This is an awesome presentation, too. Like my mouse stopped moving. Get my machine jacked up. So that's horizontal conversations. Yeah, my computer completely crapped the bed.
All right, everybody. Cole is going to fix whatever technical voodoo is going on here. The coffee place is about to close, so important to get the break-in, last chance to use your card. And we'll meet back here around like 2-ish. 2.